really wish that I would just once remember not to follow Georgia. Just once I would like to remember that, but I never seem to. It's selective memory loss. And so I'm going to go last but not least, and then we're going to open it up to questions. Everybody still awake? Please say you are, because I left myself for last, and that's always a danger. I am going to read to you from my work in progress, Great Bones. Great Bones is a romantic comedy, something I have not done before, but I really wanted to tell this story. And the story is about Rachel. Rachel writes romantic greeting cards for a living, but she cannot get a date, or cannot get a good date in a car full of lesbians. Do you guys like Volkswagen better or Subaru better for that?
Subaru.
Subaru. All right, more room. What is it with you two? Why did I choose to sit next to you is really more the question.
Romantic comedy.
Yeah, thank you. Anyway, so Rachel has like the worst string of dates you can possibly imagine. And Rachel, on her way to visit her parents in New York City for the Sabbath, or in the suburbs of New York City for the Sabbath every Friday, stops and visits her grandmother in an assisted living facility. Her grandmother, Goldie, moved into the assisted living facility because her daughter, with whom she was living in an in-law apartment, her daughter and her son-in-law, is just overbearing and she can't stand her. So she's pretended to be deaf and have some memory issues in order to move into the assisted living center where she gets a lot more peace and quiet. Except for the fact that everybody shouts at her because they think she's deaf. So Rachel visits her every week at the assisted living facility and pours her heart out to her grandmother, thinking her grandmother can't hear her anyway. So what I'm going to read to you is a little section from Rachel visiting her grandmother after yet another horrible, horrible date gone wrong. So this is from Great Bones, which, don't ask me when it will be out. I really am hopeful it will be out by the end of the year. We shall see. We shall see. So this is Great Bones. And this is Rachel and Goldie, and you'll see Goldie's good friend Gladys from the old country comes in toward the end. She took me to an Indian restaurant, Grandma. An Indian restaurant! Rachel made a face like she'd just tasted a mouthful of gefilte fish. She never even asked me whether I liked Indian food. It was the worst meal I've ever eaten. Goldie wanted to lighten the mood. She wanted to see her beautiful Rachel smile again. Not to mention that the decibel at which her granddaughter was screaming the story was making her ears bleed. I bet it wasn't worse than that time you ate that tube of Nivea cream. Or that time your mother accidentally made the turkey gravy with baby powder instead of flour. Grandma, I'm being serious here. This was the worst date in the history of worst dates. I will never, ever use a dating service again. Okay, Ganug, enough already. We'll cross that evil Stephanie off the list. She's not good enough for you anyway. Rachel put her head on Grandma Goldie's shoulder. I should just give up, Grandma. I try, but I just don't think the right girl's out there for me. Goldie wrapped her arms around Rachel and rocked her. Nonsense. The right girl is out there, you just haven't found her yet. I don't think I ever will. Hush, of course you will. Any girl with half a brain would be lucky to have you. I love you, Grandma. I gotta go, I'll be late, and you know how Mother is. Boy, do I know how your mother is. Goldie pulled back and kissed Rachel on the cheek. Will I see you next week? Have I ever missed a Friday? Not so far. I'll see you next week, Grandma. I love you. I love you too, Bubba. Rachel paused at the door and waved before disappearing out of sight. Goldie sat on the edge of the bed. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi. When she'd counted to 10, she rose, shuffled over to the door, and peeked around the corner. Not a soul in sight, not even that eagle-eyed, pain-in-the-tush aide, Evan. Good. Room 1492, the year Columbus discovered America. Goldie consulted the oversized facility map on the back of her door. Of course, Gladys's room would have to be all the way on the other side of the building. Well, no distance was too far when happiness of her granddaughter was at stake. Hi, Saul. What? No, I don't want to see your cummerbund from your high school prom. Goldie shook her head and continued down the hall. Old men. She was glad her Morris, God rest his soul, hadn't outlived his mind. Aha, the pot of gold at the end of the proverbial rainbow. Goldie knocked on the door. Come. Gladys, are you decent? Goldola? Depends on your definition. Come on in. So are you settling in? I'm doing all right, you know what I mean? Goldie nodded. It's not the old neighborhood, that's for sure. And the food, oi, don't get me started. Still, I wake up on the right side of the bed. Life is good. Speaking of which, did you know they make t-shirts that say that now? Life is good. Can you imagine? I hear they make millions. Goldola, if we'd known all we needed to do was put 3 words on a piece of cotton, we'd have hit it rich. Goldie watched for her opening. Surely Gladys would run out of air and have to take a breath soon so she could get a word in edgewise. Anyway, I'm sure that's not why you're here. Gladys patted the bed. Come, sit, and tell me what brings you to my neck of the woods. Finally. Are you still a Yenta? Goldie Horowitz, you should be ashamed of yourself. I, my dear Emma Shackhand. Why do you suppose those nebbishes who wrote Fiddler on the Roof got such an important detail wrong? Everybody knows a Yenta's a busybody. A shadchan, Gladys puffed out her chest. A shadchan is a matchmaker. So Gladys, are you still in the business? Me? Nah, you kidding? Nowadays, these kids go on the radio. The computer. You mean they go on the computer? Yeah, that box thing that sits like a paperweight on their desks. Gladys stared off into space. You were saying? Goldie prompted. What? Oh, yeah. Nowadays, these youngsters find their own dates. They do a lousy job of it, too. Have you seen the Jerry Springer show? Oi, the number of divorces. In our day, you got married and you stayed married. Gladys? Anyway, that damned radio, computer, put us out of business. That's a shame. Why are you asking? It's my granddaughter, the lesbian. Your granddaughter's an actress? Not a thespian, a lesbian! Goldie shouted. Your granddaughter's a lesbian? Shh! Who you telling? Boy, Goldie slapped her palm to her forehead. Anyway, she's got terrible girl troubles, and I'm determined to see her happy and settled before I kick the bucket. But she's already told me she'd never resort to a computer dating service again, thinks they're a waste of time. She had a bad experience. Gladys tapped her finger against her temple. I don't know, Goldola. Girls looking for love matches with other girls? Goldie's back stiffened. Love is love, Gladys, and there's nothing wrong with my Rachel. She just happens to prefer other women to men. Truth be told, she's probably the smartest of the bunch. Gladys held up a hand defensively. Slow down. No one's casting aspersions here. I just meant I don't have any experience. Goldie waited patiently. She'd seen that expression on her friend's face many times. She was sorting through the challenge. Finally, Gladys's eyes lit up. You know, I did train my granddaughter in the old ways. She's young, she's hip. I'm sure she's dealt with this sort of thing before. She runs some online matchmaking service, but she still knows how to do things the old school way. I could talk to her about it. We'd have to be sneaky about it. My granddaughter wouldn't like us unterstupping. Discreet is my granddaughter's middle name. She could never let on what she was doing. She'd have to find a way to send dates without letting my granddaughter know where they came from. That wouldn't be a problem. My granddaughter is very clever. I can pay her. It's a deal. She's coming to visit on Tuesday. I'll introduce you. That is from Great Poems. And this afternoon I will be reading something completely different from Final Cut, Building Tensions, in any event.